Hey guys, this is Pawan, and in this video, I want to show you something interesting we're introducing with the Vue framework. Now, we know that the Vue framework can be used for building full-blown Flutter apps from the ground up, using CMS-driven UI for dynamic experiences, modular features so you can build them independently and then assemble them into the app, and also using integrations with plugins for third-party integrations or bespoke APIs. And of course, all of this can be done with open source packages so that you have almost zero vendor lock-in. Now, but in the real world, you don't always build apps from scratch. Instead, what you want to do is insert some CMS-driven content inside your existing app. And to do that, you need just a widget. So say hello to the Vyuh Content Widget, which allows you to insert the widget anywhere inside your application and then pull in CMS content where and when you need it. This means you don't have to buy into the full framework on day one and gradually upgrade from a widget to a full-blown app. So let's see how this looks like in code. Now, I have a couple of examples where I'm going to show you how this is used. And what you have in front of you is a very simple setup where I'm talking to the sanity provider and calling the Vyuh Content Binding.init. Now, this is where you actually supply the plugin for connecting to the CMS, probably adding more things like analytics and telemetry and so on. And finally, you have the run app, which is literally your own app. Notice that I'm not using the run app from the Vue framework. It's just your regular Flutter vanilla app, which is being invoked over here. In this demo app, it's pretty straightforward. We're just setting up a Go router so that we can have routes for the different examples. And the build method of this app is simply just calling material app.router. So in short, we just do Vyuh Content Binding.init to create the foundation for the Vyuh Content widget. And from there on, it's just a matter of using the widgets wherever you want inside your application. Now let's look at the examples to go a little deeper into all of this. The first one, as you can expect, is the Hello World example. And this is one of the simplest ways in which you can use the widget, where you load a document with an identifier. So you can see that the invocation is pretty straightforward. It's just Vyuh Content Widget.from document, passing in the identifier. And on our CMS Studio, you can look at the document and see that the identifier is the same one which we used over there in our code. And this loads the document in your UI and then renders all of the content, including the title, the description, and of course the items which you see over here. Let's change the description quickly and refresh our widget with the handy refresh button that you see in the debug mode. And you can see the description shows up under the title now. Of course, we can do a lot more than simply changing text. We can even move around the items. But for now, I'll just rearrange the cards. And if you refresh, you will see that the second card comes on top of the first one. Now, the default document layout shows all the items. We can also switch to the single mode where it'll only pick the first item in the list and show that. So now if you refresh, you will see that only the first card, or rather the second card, stays over there and the first card goes away. Let's bring the first card back to the first position and then refresh to get back our first card at the top. So that was the simplest of the examples where you can simply load a document by its identifier, and you can put all kinds of content inside the document, which is allowed by the Vue framework. Now, right now we're using the default layout for the document, but you can also provide your own custom builder and change the layout of this document. Let's look at that with the custom builder example. So here you can see that we are still using the same identifier, but instead now supplying a builder method where you can customize the layout the way you want it. And that shows up the way you see it on the simulator on the right-hand side. The advantage of the builder is that you can now tweak the layout the way you want it and leverage Flutter's hot reload to even see live changes. So let me just comment out the description over here. And you can see that when you save the file, the description goes away, which is kind of nice. And so it kind of gives you a very quick turnaround for trying out different variations of a layout and quickly building up things that you wanted according to your design system or whatever your designer has created for you. So let me uncomment that and then hot reload to get the description back in place. Now, one of the other things you'll notice over here is that I'm using the Vyuh Content Binding.content.build content, which is useful for rendering the content directly using the Vue's framework. And this leverages the default layouts of these items, so you don't have to actually build everything yourself. Now, let's take things up a notch. What we'll do now is apply a custom query into the Vyuh Content widget, and then list down a list of items that you can render from that query itself. So this is the conferences example where I'm having a query that goes and gets the conferences, and I'm rendering it using the list view. And each item is being shown using a list style. Now, one of the interesting things to note over here is that the query comes back with a list of type safe objects. And this is because of the from JSON that you pass into the Vyuh Content Widget. This actually converts those JSON objects into type safe Dart objects. So you can look up the properties with more reliability, such as your logo, title, slug, etc. And of course, you can also tweak the width and height and do Flutter hot reload to tweak the layouts on the fly. Now, if you do mess up the query or you have some other issues in your network or other places, it'll come back with a handy message that you can use to fix your problems. So in this case, I have a bad query, so let me just fix that and then refresh to get back to my previous list of conferences. Now let's look at one last example where we render a fairly complex route document that represents a single screen or a page inside a user journey. And here you can see that you have a lot of rich text mixed up with cards and links that can go to web pages and a bunch of other things, going around over here. It's a pretty complex document which you would normally see inside a full Vue app. And let's see how this has been rendered using the Vyuh Content Widget. You can see that the query is a little more complex over here. It looks up a type, which is view.route, and a path set to miscellaneous text in the query params. Now let me show you the route document itself, which is inside the miscellaneous category. And then if you go into the miscellaneous text path, you will see the document over here. And this has a body section or a body region, which has the portable text. And let's go in over here and change the text itself. So let's just type in hey there, and we can refresh to see that the text also changes inside our widget. All right, so let's clear the text and refresh so you can get back to your previous text. And you can see that the document itself has lots of interesting things like cards and groups and a bunch of other kinds of formatted text. And all of that is being rendered inside your Vyuh Content Widget. So that's our 4 examples, and we have barely scratched the surface in terms of what the Vyuh Content Widget can actually do. You can customize with your own custom content, render different types of routes and documents that you create for yourself, and also include plugins like telemetry, analytics, routing, and do much more complex things with your content widgets. Now, this being a widget, you can intersperse this throughout your existing application. And once you grow past all this, you can move into the full Vue framework for the full glory.